Welcome back. Welcome back. Big dogs in the house.
Thanks.
Shout out to BDGE for that intro. Let us recap what went down this week. Let's start with Thursday night. Indy versus Tennessee. We all thought Tennessee would win this game, but that was definitely not the case. Derrick Henry rushed 19 times, 103 yards, and he was taken out of the game script as soon as they got down. Michael Pittman Jr. was the lone bright spot in the receiving offense, 101 yards, 7 catches. And Naheem Hines just took over that backfield this game. And going forward, I like him the best out of those three running backs, Jordan Wilkins and Jonathan Taylor. But it is unreliable, so don't rely too heavy on that.
Honestly, I just get out of that backfield altogether. It's a running back community, so you should not be in that backfield as a fantasy option. It's based on how good they play each game, so there's no point.
I'm just gonna say I actually picked the Colts to win, so don't speak for everyone when Titans are gonna
Well,
win.
you only picked the Colts to win because you are a Colts fan.
And I'm picking every
So
week.
you got a little bias there.
They could win every single week.
They could win. They would have a better chance of winning every week if they had a better quarterback, but who knows?
And T.Y. didn't.
Who knows? Browns Texans. We had a little weather delay here, and because the weather was so poor, this game was atrocious. The bright spot for the Browns, Nick Chubb came back and he looked super healthy. 126 yards rushing and a touchdown. He almost had 2 touchdowns, but he ran out at the 1 yard line just to seal the game. Fantasy managers are probably pissed off about that. Kareem Hunt had the same amount of carries and he went over 100 yards as well. So Kareem Hunt does not take that big of a hit with Chubb back. In fact, he may even be better with Chubb in that backfield.
Like I said, look at his numbers with Chubb in the lineup. Better than when he's out of the lineup every week.
And for the Texans, I mean, you can't really. It's a tough game through the air. I mean, Duke Johnson took over David Johnson, and he only had 54 yards rushing. In terms of receiving, nothing really happened either side of the ball because of the weather. The Browns take this one. Next game, we have Lions Skins. No, I keep making that mistake. Lions Washington football team. Alex Smith threw for just under 400 yards. Antonio Gibson's 2 yards rushing on the ground. I said Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissic will have a great game against the Lions. They did not disappoint. Terry McLaurin had 7 receptions for 95 yards. Great game for him. He's a beast, underrated. And wow, Alex Smith just fed a lot of people. He threw
lot of receptions.
He threw a lot of receptions. J.D. McKissic had 7 receptions. He had another 15 target game. I'm telling you, he benefits a ton from Alex Smith.
Almost 30 targets in 2 weeks.
It's unreal how many targets he had. He's a PBR monster. DeAndre Swift had a phenomenal game. 81 yards rushing on 16 touches. And the receiving game, 5 receptions, 68 yards and a touchdown. Marvin Jones surprised a lot of us. 8 receptions, 96 yards and a touchdown. He looks to be the main benefactor of Galladay's injury, but we'll see. We'll monitor Galladay's injury going forward. A wild finish to this one. The Redskins lose late. Jaguars, Packers, another poor rainy weather condition. Aaron Rodgers still played lights out. Besides a 1 pick, he threw over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns.
He ran one in.
And Valdez Scantling, he's very streaky.
He put up Devontae numbers on a quarter of the receptions.
Now, look, the number one wide receiver this week, even fantasy-wise, is a Packers receiver, but it's not Devontae. It is Valdez Scantling. A phenomenal game. Devontae still had a great game. 8 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown, even in poor conditions. DJ Chark, I thought he would have a great game, but he did not. I'm going to blame the bad weather for this one. Keelan Cole had a decent game. He had a return touchdown, 5 receptions, 47 yards, and a touch through the air. Luton, however, looked bad. I said to stream him. I was wrong. He had a very poor performance. James Robinson had a phenomenal game. He rushed for over 100 yards, but now is the time to sell high. As we said, his schedule is bad.
Problem is he gets monster carries and he turns them into a lot of yards, but he just doesn't get enough touchdowns or receptions to make him an RB1.
And again, his playoff matchup does not look good, so if you can sell high on him, I recommend doing so. Eagles, Giants.
He got some.
So I am a Giants fan. I am happy with what I saw. Daniel Jones looked good in this one. He didn't throw a pick, thank God. He rushed for a touchdown. He didn't trip this time. Well done. Wayne Gallman, 18 yards rushing, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Great option there. I had him as a sleeper, and he did not disappoint. Darius Slayton, 93 yards. Sterling Shepard, 47 yards. Not really much in the receiving position. For the Eagles, Miles Sanders is back. 15 yards, 15 rush for 85 yards. That is not bad at all.
Fulgham took a massive hit. He did get targeted a lot.
Yeah, I made that claim. I said Fulgham will take a hit once all these receivers are back, and he spread. Carson Wentz spread the ball a lot. I mean, Richard Rodgers had 4 catches. Jalen Reagor as well. Greg Ward, Dallas Goedert. But Travis only had 1 target.
And I don't even think it was because Bradbury was taking the whole game. Because at the end of the game, I saw Reagor was one covered by Bradbury.
So if you had Fulgham, you should have sold high.
Miles Sanders.
Hopefully he could bounce back.
Miles Sanders has a really good playoff schedule. I think he's playing the Packers and the Seahawks. I don't know who else, but he's a lot of good matchups.
Yeah, I definitely like Miles Sanders. He could definitely win your league.
Great bounce back week from injury.
For sure. Let's go Buccaneers Panthers. Absolutely. Now this is Brady's revenge game. Coming off a 38-3 demolition, he came back against the Panthers and he threw for 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, and just absolutely destroyed. He distributed to all his receivers: Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, even Rob Gronkowski. They all benefited. I thought that it was going to be too cluttered. But he did distribute it to everyone. Mike Evans had a touchdown, 77 yards. He almost had another one, but he dropped it. Godwin, 92 yards. And Ronald Jones, the big surprise here. I thought he was just done and Leonard Fournette would take over, but he had 23 rushes, 192 yards on the ground, and a touchdown, including a 98-yard run, but still
almost had 100 yards otherwise.
He played phenomenal. I'm happy. I'm a Rojo owner. I still have him on my team, so that's great for me. I benched him though. But I still won regardless, so I'm okay. Teddy Bridgewater didn't look too great. Mike Davis did not perform well in McCaffrey's absence, which, you know, if you're a McCaffrey owner, you should be happy about that. DJ Moore had a good game, but only on 4 receptions, so I wouldn't be too happy about that. Robbie Anderson only had 4 receptions as well, but again, it was poor game script. I like Robbie Anderson going forward.
Curtis Samuel didn't perform either. They got beaten down.
It was a second half. It was a poor matchup for fantasy purposes for all Carolina Panthers. Now, Broncos Raiders. I'm looking at Drew Lock's stats. Last week he put up 30 points, 30 fantasy points. Now he put up a third of that.
4 picks.
He threw 4 interceptions, only 1 touchdown, and yeah, I mean, and I'm looking at Jerry Jeudy, 4 receptions, 68 yards, not terrible.
A lot of it was in garbage time.
But Philip Lindsay only had 4 rushes, which is surprising. They're not utilizing him at all.
Definitely a stash if Melvin Gordon does get that suspension, but otherwise, just as
And Derek Carr only threw 150 yards, no touchdowns.
He didn't need to do much more.
But he didn't need to do anything because Josh Jacobs had 3 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns. Devontae Booker had 2
touchdowns also.
Oh, he only kicked 2. Okay, fine.
Josh Jacobs had 7 carries combined, 200 yards, and 4 touchdowns between 2 of them.
That's wild. That was a complete. They just dominated on the run, and that's all he needed to do. No one else needed to get involved in the passing game. Great looking team right there for the Raiders, underdogs. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith. They call him. He says that they're a Super Bowl sleeper. I don't think they're that good, but they're decent. Now let's go to the Chargers Dolphins game. This was a surprising game. I thought it'd be much closer than it was. Herbert. He didn't look so great in this one. He threw a pick. He only threw 187, 2 touchdowns.
It was a fumble early, but on the Dolphins side, right?
I believe so. Yes. Keenan Allen had a touchdown, but only 3 receptions. It was tough offensively for the Chargers.
Miami proved they're legit today.
Miami looked great. I mean, Salvon Ahmed, I don't know who this guy is, but he's definitely streamable for next week. He rushed 21 times, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Great game for him. Tua is looking good. The defense is great. I like Miami going forward. They are rising up the rankings. Buffalo versus
not much to say. It's just
Arizona.
It was all this in the game.
You saw this game. This was the best game by far. Let's start with Josh Allen. Honestly, no, I think Cardinals Seahawks still the best game of the season for now.
The ending of this game.
This game was wild. Let's save that for later. 284 yards for Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns, but he did throw 2 picks. No one, the running back, the backfield is non-existent. They don't have a run game. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, 11 rushing attempts combined for only 35 yards.
They couldn't really run there behind. It was a weird game the entire time.
But in general, I just don't love that backfield.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley had 11 receptions on 13 targets, over 100 yards, and a touchdown.
Wild
game. Yeah, he had like an OBJ catch to get that first down, which was wild. Stephon Diggs, another 10 receptions, 93 yards, touchdown. He's leading the league in receiving yards, and he will continue to do so. Great game.
John Brown had a solid game. I was wrong. I mean, I don't think he's going to be consistent every week, but he could be. He had 8 targets.
John Brown looked good. I like John Brown in like shootout matchups for sure. Kyler Murray did not have a great game throwing. 245 yards, touchdown, and interception. But he knows how to run. He's probably the best running back in the league, almost behind Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara. But he's a monster. He has 61 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, crazy game. And then DeAndre Hopkins, 7 receptions, 127 yards, and a touchdown.
Pretty weak until the end.
And that the Hail Murray play at the end. What a crazy finish that was. He just chucked out 43 yards into the end zone. DeAndre Hopkins went up over 3 guys, completely dunked all over them, and came down with that ball.
So we got to comment, Murray D-Hop stack is the best in fantasy. I mean, definitely competing with Rodgers and Devontae, but it's a close race between the two of them.
I think Kyler and Diab have the edge because of Kyler just consistently like 30+ a game. I mean, the guy's a monster.
Yeah, Kyler's definitely better than the quarterbacks, but I think
Devontae is the
destroys in fantasy.
Okay, so let's go to Seattle, LA Rams. Now, this was a wild for playoff implications and division standings. The Rams came out on top, and the Seahawks fall to 3rd in their division. They're all 6-3 with the Cardinals ahead due to division wins. The Rams, Jared Goff threw for over 300 yards. Josh Reynolds was a main benefactor here. 8 receptions, 94 yards. He was one of my sleepers.
Backfield was a mess, though.
The backfield does not look good. I mean, Malcolm Brown had 2 rushing touchdowns, but that's not going to happen again.
Henderson had 1.
I mean, you never know.
It's a gamble, and it's not worth starting anyone.
It is a gamble. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods did not have great games, but they're Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. You can't.
He called Reynolds before this game started.
They're going to have a great game going forward. I like this offense a lot. In terms of the Seahawks,
Russell Wilson had a dud.
Wilson didn't look good. He only threw 248. He threw 2 picks.
He did have 60 rushing yards, but it didn't help out with 2 picks.
Alex Collins took over the backfield, 43 yards rushing and a touchdown. Decent stream, but no one did well here. DK Metcalf only had 28 yards receiving. Jalen Ramsey did very well on him. Lockett, 66 yards. But again,
Metcalf almost had a long touchdown.
Just out of reach. Okay, next game, Niners versus the Saints. We all expected, the Saints to destroy, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, Drew Brees, even after an injury, Jameis checks in the game. They still went, wow, I'm looking at the stats. He only threw 76 yards. Jameis only 63. And so it was pretty much, the offense just run through Alvin Kamara. 7 receptions, 83 yards. And
does not run the ball.
He does not run the ball. He rushed 8 times, 15 yards.
He's a receiver under the name running.
And he still got 2 touchdowns.
He usually gets rushing. Usually gets like 60 off of 10 carries.
He rarely breaks 100 rushing yards. But his receiving upside is ridiculous.
Michael Thomas only had 2 receptions for 27 yards, but again, he's Michael Thomas. It was a game that you're not going to involve that you don't need your best receivers for. So it was just poor game script for Michael Thomas going forward. I like him. Nick Mullins, just put up Nick Mullins' numbers. 2 INTs, a touchdown, 247 yards, and then McKinnon did nothing. Ayuk is good. Ayuk is the only guy in this offense I like.
Jordan Reed could be a streamable tight end.
I mean, tight ends suck, so definitely.
He had an amazing grab also.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk, 7 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown. I believe he had 14 targets. 14. So if you have him, then you're loving that performance. Cincy Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Yeah. I expected more out of the Bengals here. Burrow, he only threw 1 touchdown with 200 yards.
Hey, it was the T. Higgins.
T. Higgins had a fantastic game. 9 targets, 7 receptions, over 100 yards, and a touch.
We got to ask, is T. Higgins the wide receiver one on this team?
Yeah, he's definitely close, but I still think
I think it's a 50-50 split between Boyd and Higgins at this point.
I think it's a 55-45 split.
T. Higgins is a great waiver pickup. He's a great rookie receiver. There's a great class of rookie receivers all around. You have Ayuk, you have Jefferson, you have T. Higgins, you have Jerry Jeudy.
Higgins has been putting up the best numbers. Jefferson's been all over the place, but Higgins consistently been putting up the best numbers.
It's a great rookie class by far. Big Ben had a money day. 333 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Connor did not do well. Back-to-back games where he should have had a great game, he performed very poorly. But you had Deontay Johnson, Juju, and Claypool again.
Proving you can start all three.
They're all 3 of them are startable. They all had a touchdown. Claypool had 2, and they all had 10-plus targets. Unreal. This offense is great. These receivers are great. Start all of them.
Even in a game they were up like 20 the entire game, Ben still threw 40.
Ben loves them. Ben loves to prove that he's still got a lot left to prove.
That offense is proving itself more and more as one of the top.
All 3 are startable. It reminds me a lot like Bucs, the Bucs receivers situation. They're all startable, but I like them a lot. Let's see. So Patriots Ravens. This game just happened. It was a terrible weather condition. It was storming. It was raining like crazy. Cam only threw for 100 yards, but he didn't really need to throw more than that.
Cam wasn't even the best.
He wasn't even the best quarterback. Jacoby Myers, 24 yards passing, 1 touchdown to Rex Burkhead. He got 2 touchdowns. And Damian Harris rushed for over 120 yards on 22 rushes. He looked very good, especially against that Ravens defense.
Crazy stat. Jacoby Myers was the only receiver targeted except for Demir Burnett, which was targeted a single time.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers is the number 1 receiver in that offense. Cam loves him. Great waiver pickup. I had him as my number 2 on Instagram. Go check that out. Willie Snead had 2 touchdowns. I did not know this. 64 yards, 5 receptions. Andrews had a decent game. 7 receptions, 61 yards. He's been doing horrible before then. This is a good sign of what's to come. I mean, hopefully he picks it up from here.
Mark Ingram, Marquise Brown, they seem like you can't start them in even a 10-man league.
Yeah, I'm not loving Marquise Brown. He's just been dudding. He hasn't had a decent game recently.
Lamar put up some of his best numbers in a while. He threw the ball pretty decently. He's special, but he's got to do better, and he's going to need to run the ball a lot more in the future if he wants to do well.
Patriots are a viable wild card option if they continue this up, but they have to prove a little more.
So the last game is Chicago versus Minnesota. That is tomorrow night, and we will be going live again after that game. And throughout the week, we will be going through waiver pickups, start 'em, sit 'em, all of that, answering all your questions, going live almost every single night. So be sure to tune in and subscribe and get notifications and comment, like, and just share. Tell your friends. And peace out.